Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at Outlaw from Kings and Crooks. Now, these decks were designed by McKenzie and released on Kickstarter back in 2018. It's a deck whose design is inspired by the wild spirit of the classic motorcycle club. Great theme for a deck of cards, and one that's really brought to life in these 100% custom decks of cards. As you can see, it comes in two different versions. The black and silver over here was the initial standard version of the deck that was released on Kickstarter, and as it hit stretch goals, that was followed up with the weathered tuck that's called the Hell Rider edition. So two great versions, not just a simple color swap. So we'll look at both versions of the deck in turn, but let's start out by looking at the standard deck. All right, so starting with the tuck case. It's in a tuck case that's produced by Clove Street Press. They always do a phenomenal job with tuck cases, and this one is no exception. It's printed on a nice thick black matte cardstock and covered with deep embossing and a silver foil for the design work. You get Outlaw playing cards, custom built by Kings and Crooks, and then it's all built around this center emblem atop a spade. You can see that large spade tip in the back, and it's meant to kind of look like a patch that you find on the leather jacket of one of the motorcycle club's members. You get the skull and crossbones. It's made look even more menacing with the grizzly beard, the lightning bolt across the top, and then lots of little touches that bring to mind motorcycles, including the circular chain going around the middle here and the two handlebars of the motorcycle that rise up out of the top. Lots of line work on the corners that's sort of reminiscent of tattoo work, and a beautiful border around the edge just finishes out an absolutely fantastic looking tuck case. Love the design work on this one. On the side, you get Kings and Crooks Playing Card Company, custom built and designed by McKenzie. Other side mentions these are made with guts in the United States of America, as though these are printed by USPCC. And then on the bottom, you get some ad copy for Kings and Crooks. The top here, you get Live Free, a little bit of a motto for motorcyclists. And then on the back, you get a foiled and embossed version of the back design of the cards. You get a little bit of a preview of that one. Finishes out with a postage stamp style seal, black and silver foiled seal with the Kings and Crooks logo there in the middle. As you open it up, a little bit more design work, including the nice chain across the bottom, and a little bit of a quote that you'll see mentioned a couple of other times on the deck. When freedom is outlawed, only outlaws will be free. A couple more skulls on the inner flaps here. And then the interior printing, one of my favorite parts of the tuck case. I love this tire tread pattern that's done in the black foil there. Really cool finish to the interior of the tuck case. So fantastic tuck case, but let's take a look at the cards. And start with the back design. Done in a really bold black and white. There's some slight imperfection to the color, giving it a really slightly weathered look, but mostly a monochromatic back design. You get the Outlaw top and bottom, lots of skull work and beautiful line work going all the way through. It is a two-way back design, or rather, sorry, it's a one-way back design. So you get Live Free on one side, and then Ride Hard on the other, and then the sides here you get Rise on one side and Defy on the other. So it is not a two-way back design. Usually not a fan of words all the way throughout, but I do think that this one looks beautiful. It's a design, especially with these quadrants here, that kind of makes me think of the back designs that are popularized with Joker and the Thief playing cards. They use a lot of this sort of quadrant design, so it kind of makes me think of that. Now, one interesting footnote of this is you look behind the words here, you'll see this sort of raised skeletal fist here. This was actually something that had to be modified from the original design. Originally, that skull was supposed to have the skeletal hand there was supposed to have the middle finger extended, sort of flipping the bird. But that was something that USPCC objected to on their indecency policy or whatever. And so they said that the design had to be changed. So Lee, despite the whole deck being about defiance, had to give in to the man and modify the design here. But you can see the original design on the tuck case. So Clove Street didn't have the same limitation, and so you do get the original design with the middle finger extended there. So that's not the only change they had to make to the deck. The other change comes as we look at the jokers. So first off, what we do get with the Jokers are a beautiful sort of tribute to the classic bicycle Joker, which features the king riding on a bicycle. But of course, with the Outlaw deck, we get him now riding on a Harley of his own, complete decked out with the leather jacket, but he still does have his signature hairstyle, beard, and the crown. And you'll see in one of his hands, he's waving the giant chain whip. This was another compromise with USBCC. Originally, the king here was pictured flipping the bird as he drove by, but that was another thing that had to be changed. And so he left it up to backers to vote on the design, and this little chain whip is the one that won. You get Joker across the top, lightning bolts in the corner for a really fantastic Joker design. You also get a double backer, always nice to have, and an ad card with Kings and Crooks playing card company on one side, and then this sort of stars and stripes, or the red and white stripes, and that same quote that we saw in the tuck case: when freedom is outlawed, only outlaws will be free. So nice little ad card. All right, then into the main deck, and we'll start with the Ace of Spades, the Power Ace, and it is a really strong ace. You get that same skull and crossbones in the middle, kind of laid over the top of a large spade pip in the back. You get the Live and Ride, custom built by Kings and Crooks at the bottom. Really beautiful, bold design. And I love at the top, you get In Anarchy We Trust and Outlaw. Get the motorcycle handlebars raising out of the top. Just a really, really strong design. Love the look of this one. Get a nice custom font there with the pip and index in the corner. And you can see the little sort of specks in there, giving it a little bit of a worn, weathered look to it as well. So really like that Ace of Spades. The other three aces are a bit more standard. They do feature slightly custom pips, which are again giving that slightly aged look to them. Almost a hand-drawn look to the pips. So slightly larger than normal, but nothing too out of the ordinary. The red's a super, super bright red, and then the black cards are that classic black color. Number cards are in the same style as we saw with the other three aces there. So feature pretty standard layout for the pips. You can see the slight customization on these. By the way, as I looked through, I couldn't find any two pips that were the same. So with that weathering pattern, each one of the pips gets a kind of unique weathering pattern. Now, I could be wrong on that. Maybe there's some that are a little bit more similar to each other, but as I looked through here, like on the 10, all of these had sort of different weathering pattern. So into the diamonds, fairly classic shape, little bit of variation in the shapes. You'll see that kind of flared out base to the club pip, for example, but nothing too crazy or out of the ordinary. And then into the hearts. So nice standard look, pretty functional design to those. And then we get into the quartz, and these I think are a lot of fun. They are at their core inspired clearly by the classic bicycle quartz, particularly in the hairstyle, and a lot of them are wearing, like the King of Spades here, still wearing the crown, but they're given a complete makeover, an aggressive red and black color scheme, and they're all decked out as bikers. All of them kind of in different poses. I love the look of, for example, the Jack of Spades here, lighting up a cigarette. The Queen of Spades, complete with a tattoo on her chest and the rose in hand. So a lot of them still have this sort of classic implements, but sort of reimagined. So for example, here, the King of Spades, his sword's been replaced with a large Bowie knife. Love the look of these. Love all the little details like the dog tags, the eye patch, just lots of little elements that really add to this sort of authentic feel of these. So there's your diamonds, like the sickle that he's got in his, or the scythe that he's got in his hand there. Beautiful look to all of these. I love the customizations on these, just really well imagined, while still kind of giving you those little touches like the curls in the hair that just give you that slight homage to the classic quartz as well. And then there's your hearts. My favorite of all of the quartz has to be that King of Hearts. He's in the classic suicidal king pose, but this time with a gun to his forehead instead of the classic sword. Beautiful looking card. Love the bandana, the hits of red throughout here. Just fantastic set of court cards. And that is it. That is the standard version of the deck. Now, before we talk about handling and final thoughts on the deck, let's take a quick look at the Hell Rider version of the deck. Completely different color scheme on the tuck case, and it's given a really aggressively weathered look, almost like scorched parchment throughout here. That tan color, lots of heavy weathering throughout here, and gives a completely different look and feel to the tuck case overall. On the back, you get a little peek of the back design done in red, which is going to match what we see on the back design. But same seal overall. A couple of small differences on these. For example, on here you get slightly different wording on the top. So whereas this one said live free, this one has defy and rise. But otherwise, very similar design. It does feature embossing throughout. So you get some nice feel to this overall. Not quite as aggressive of embossing and not as thick of a material in the tuck case, but still a really fantastic weathered design on these. So there's your interior printing as well. This is another change from the original deck. So whereas the original deck had the interior printing with the tire treads that I absolutely love, this one has a little image of the stars and stripes. Still nice, but I think I like the tire tread one quite a bit better. There you go, that's the tuck case for this one. And the cards are given a nice new treatment as well. All given that really nice weathered look to them overall. Again, really aggressive weathering. So you can see on the back design here, lots of kind of a grittier feel to it. The back design has been replaced with kind of a red gradient and then cracks going all the way through. Interestingly on these, a couple of things about the back design. So first off, the weathering pattern is completely unique from one card to the next. So you're not going to see repetition in the weathering pattern, which I think is a great little bit of attention to detail. And the other interesting thing about these is they are a marked back design. So I'm not going to talk about the marking system specifically. You do get an ad card that does give you a website down here at the bottom to where you can find out more about the marking system, but not going to talk too much about that. But there is a marking system. For me, I don't use decks for Magic or anything very much. I found the marking system a little bit hard to read, a little bit hard to see, especially if you're holding it at arm's distance, but still nice little addition to the deck overall. The faces of the cards as well are given that really weathered treatment, so gives a really different feel to the cards overall. Much more aggressive cracking, for example, on the pips. Just a really nice look to them. Same artwork on the court cards, but of course given completely different feel with that weathering. You also get some different artwork on the Jokers. So now the Joker has been replaced with the Classic King, is now a Skeletal King, and instead of the Chain Whip, he's raising devil horns up in the air. So lots of little touches to make this one a unique deck experience compared to the standard version. And that is it. That is the look at the two different versions of Outlaw. As far as handling, these are printed by USPCC. Beautiful stock and finish on these. They handle really, really nicely right out of the box. Always smooth handling on these, so no complaints whatsoever from USPCC on that front. Both decks handle about the same, used on the same stock, and you're not going to have any issues on that front. Now, as far as uses of the deck, I think it's a great functional deck, one that would be a fun addition for gameplay, bring a little bit of new life to your game. Obviously not the marked version of the deck, not going to want to use that one for gameplay, but the standard version would be a great one for gameplay. It's a deck that I suppose is suitable for Magic. I mean, the marked back certainly had Magic in mind when it was brought out, but it's a little bit highly custom if you wanted to strictly make this your Magic deck overall. That said, functional enough for that, handles well enough for cardistry. So I think just a nice functional deck, but also one that you could just use as a collector's set. I mean, the tuck case alone looks great on a shelf. But anyway, that's it for now. That is the look at Outlaw from Kings and Crooks. Great pair of decks. One that I was really glad to get my hands on. And if you have a chance to, I'll put a link where you can get the standard version. This one you can still pick up from Lee's website. The more limited version here is a little bit harder to find, but keep an eye out and you'll find one of these on the secondary market. There's 1,000 of them out there, so not impossible to find. But hope you enjoyed this look at Outlaw. And hey, make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews and unboxings. Let me know what else you want to see, and I'll see you for the next one.